With me today is Jane Hindle, who spent 20 years in the IT and telecoms industry before moving to Northland 20 years ago for a complete change. She's been on the board of the Regional Economic Development Agency and Destination Northland. She's just stepped down as chair of NorthTech, having served 7 years on the board. She's deputy chair of Russell Museum, heavily involved with the Tuya commemorations, and is the executive trustee of the R. Tucker Thompson Sale Training Trust. Good morning, Jane. How are you?
Kia ora, Peter. I'm good. I'm good in my bubble.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? All these bubbles. So tell me, Jane, if you had $500 million to invest and you wanted to invest it in Northland, where would you put it right now?
Well, I'm going to kind of buck the trend, really, because I actually think one of our biggest problems is not COVID-19. It's actually the security of our water supply. I'd be keen to look at, green emerging technology and water supply, all of which are a bit environmentally, really. But yeah, the other thing is that, things like wood processing, we've been talking about for years and years and years. It would be really good to get some progress there. And then digital, which is, sort of emerging technologies in some respects. But for example, we've been talking about data centers for many years because Tokerau is one of the most seismically stable regions of the country. So it's a natural for things like that. So yeah, that's where I'd be investing my dollars.
What do Northland business leaders need to do to turn all of that into reality?
Well, we actually already have a template because we have the Tokerau Economic Action Plan. And quite a few of those things that I've mentioned have been on there, not just in the recent one, but since the 2000s. But more recently, the action plans really started to deliver. So water supply is on there. I think you'll find wood processing is on there. All those industries, the data centers and the digital, that's on there as well. So I think you'll find it's not like we're trying to pluck things out of the air. It's about actually getting on and moving from scoping into delivery, and that's where the investment comes in.
That's really important. But as you say, a lot of these things have been in the pipeline for years and years and years. What do we need to do to light some fires under some bottoms and get things happening?
Well, I think, never waste a good crisis, as Winston Churchill said. This could be the opportunity to get some of those projects going, because the government is going to throw money, like the Think Big projects, at the regions and try and get some of these projects initiated. We do have a lot that are sitting there waiting to go with a fairly modest amount of effort. So let's be smart and use this as an opportunity to move some of these projects into action.
So Jane, what do Northland businesses themselves need to be doing to ensure the regional economy emerges from this well and ultimately stronger than before we went into it?
Well, I can only speak to the businesses I've really been involved with, but that's tourism and education. But I think local businesses need to be really focused on the things they can achieve rather than worry too much on what they can't. I think for tourism, I think as an industry, we need to look at our assets and think really hard about how we might use them in a different way. So everybody's talking about domestic tourism and the domestic tourism market, but we need to look at whether we could use those assets for different purposes. So for example, we have a wealth of amazing environmental and heritage tourism operators. So what would it look like if every child was able to walk in a forest and have the stories told, or visit a number of our heritage sites to learn about our really amazing histories, or get out into the bay and learn about Project Island Song? So we don't just focus on tourist visitors, but we focus on, our young people, our communities, and try and get them to use the assets we've got. And we need to collaborate so that we tell this story in a cohesive way that makes sense and layer experiences across each other. Because ultimately, when the international markets come back and the tourism markets come back, we'll have products for international students and international education as well, which will help build our portfolio. From Northtech, it's been quite interesting because for years we've been trying to roll out blended and digital delivery, and there's been this passive resistance to change. It's been quite frustrating. But in February, when we were looking at first the drought, and then as the COVID-19 situation worsened, it became very obvious it could be, you know, not just our international students, but our domestic market as well. We had to accelerate that. And suddenly we were able to start rolling out courses on digital platforms and doing online learning, something that we've been trying to do for years. So it's been really good that we can emerge stronger with better product, with different ways of doing things. And as business leaders, we need to keep up that momentum and go, this is change for the good. And it has been caused by something that's been really difficult, but let's keep going and, you know, pause and keep building on it. Yeah.
What do business leaders need from local and regional government in order to bring all of this to fruition, do you think?
I think local and regional government need to maintain the sense of urgency to get things done. It's been really amazing to watch how people have changed the way they do things.
What do you think our priorities should be as a region, and how do those differ from other regions around the country, do you think?
I think we need to have a good hard look at the Tokerau Economic Action Plan and reprioritise some of those. And rewrite tourism.
Yeah.
We need to look at so horticulture can't continue without the water supply being fixed.
What do you think are the main lessons that regional New Zealand as a whole, not just Northland, should have learned since we first heard about COVID, not that long ago, but it seems like a lifetime. And do you think that we've learned those lessons in Northland?
Well, I think there's one thing that you know, since I've moved here and that I've always known, is that we've had this kind of inferiority complex that because we're in Northland, we have to travel everywhere to be heard. And I think people are starting to realise that we are smart and we are capable and we are connected, even if we live in the regions. Yeah. So we don't have to go to Wellington if we want something doing. We don't have to turn up in Auckland and spend, you know, hours getting there. We can actually compete and participate in the national economy as Northlanders, and regional New Zealand can do that as well. We can all compete if we're smart about the way we do things and we change the way we work and we change the way we operate. And I think if we've learned anything, we can change, we can actually change, and we can change quite quickly when we have to.
I hope we're not being incredibly naive, but I do sense a degree of optimism coming out of Northland that perhaps wasn't there before COVID. There seems to be a feeling that we've got the basics. We've got the basics in terms of our economic strength. Our rural sector has always carried us through, will continue to carry us through. We're not a tremendously sophisticated economy. We're not going to take a massive hit in the same way as some other areas and some other regions might do. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm optimistic, and I know that there are plenty of people that are optimistic. We've had wars, we've had epidemics, which have been, you know, huge loss of life. We had, you know, a big recession in the 1980s, and every time we've managed to come back out of it. But this time I sense we might do better, because I think we do have a plan and we do have some amazing people. I mean, one of the things you sort of have hinted at is what will it take to haul our region out of recession? And, you know, I think it's 3 C's. It's creativity, communication, and collaboration. We've got some really talented people that actually don't just care about their own businesses, but care about the region. And I've met a huge amount of talented and amazing people. I've had the privilege to work with quite a few of them. And the thing that sets them apart that I think is the lack of selfishness. We do put energy into making sure that our community and our region is doing well. We don't just look after our own business. And I'm sure you can think of them, Peter. There's There's heaps of them. But the point I wanted to make is not everybody. There's some businesses doing it tough and that are less resilient, and that's where the communication comes in. So you've got your creative people, but we need to bring everybody along. And so I think there needs to be a huge emphasis on getting as many businesses involved as we can from those leaders. And I actually think that needs to be led by the Economic Development Agency, and they need to be resourced by central government to do this work. I think that's where some of the investment needs to be put, because not every business is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and not every business is a member of the, you know, the industry association. So we need to pick up those, because if we don't do that, we will have social problems. And economic and social go hand in hand, as you well know. Social development and economic development need to be intertwined. So to me, the collaboration is absolutely critical. So we need that creativity, we need the communication, and we need the collaboration. But I think we've got the people in the region to do it, and I think we've got the heart to do it. And I think over the centuries, we've proven that we can do it. So yeah, I'm hugely optimistic.
Wow, what a fantastically positive note to end on. Jane Hindle, thank you very, very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. Bye.